It finally came to a head this week that I had to admit I'm socially challenged. Should be expected from somebody who grew up on a farm on the edge of nowhere and has spent most of my adult life driving a truck, kind of a solitary occupation. But there are just certain people I seem to be on a different wavelength with. And one of the other drivers at work kind of brought that to a head this week. In our culture, it's kind of common greeting to ask somebody, how you doing? How are you? Kind of another way of saying hello. I used to, when I first heard that, think they were actually wanted to know how I was doing. So I would start telling them, but then they'd keep walking, so I realized that's not what they were after. So I figured, okay, it's just a common greeting, no big deal. So this week, the driver is coming out of the dispatch office, and I'm heading into it. You know, we're doing our jobs. We've never really carried on anything more than a shallow conversation, so when he greets me with, how you doing, I just kind of said hi or hey or whatever it was, and we just kept walking. Pretty soon he starts mumbling, loud enough for me to hear him. "Oh, I'm fine, thanks for asking." So I turned around and looked at him, and he glanced back at me, and I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and kept walking. If we were to sit down at a table, starting a meal, and he was to ask me that, I could roll out my life story, and it would sound like a bad country song, or a good country song if you like country music. But just in passing like that, I don't have time to get started with everything I got going on in my life right now. Trust me. So let's change the subject before I get too depressed. I feel like the weather we're having in Texas this year, a lot better than the last few. Hardly hit 100 degrees at all this year, as opposed to a few years ago when we broke all kinds of records for the number of days it got over 100. We had one of those cold snaps earlier in the month, last month, that they blamed on a polar vortex, which when we got polar vortexes in February, it was pretty cold, but you get one in July, it's not too bad. So send all the vortexes or vortices or vortize, however you pluralize that word, in July that you want. Now that it's August, send some more. Pluralizing words, it kind of reminds me of a couple my wife and I used to spend some time with. One time he told me he thought I was a fun guy, so I thought that meant he enjoyed spending time with me. And then I come to realize that fun guy is plural for fungus. So did he really enjoy spending time with me, or was he calling me a mushroom or some sort of mold? I don't know. Like I say, we used to spend time with him. Wait a second, how do we get back on the subject of me being socially challenged? I admit it, but I'm not in bad company. My best friend is socially challenged too, or at least he was when he walked the face of the earth. Recorded in the Bible that back in Jesus' day, the religious leaders didn't think too kindly of the people he spent time with, so they considered him socially challenged. You want proof? I got proof. We had a visiting preacher at our church this week. He likes to kind of make his own little translation of the Bible by tinkering with what the Greek actually says. He was going through Mark chapter 12, where the Pharisees were coming and trying to get out of Jesus whether or not they should pay taxes to Caesar. This is the phrase they use to butter Jesus up. "Teacher, we know that you are trustful, and no one's opinion is a concern to you, for you do not show partiality to man, but in truth teach the way of God." So you see, since it's my goal to become more like Jesus, being socially challenged is not an all bad thing. So I guess I'll just continue not worrying about pleasing everybody. I'm going to concentrate my efforts on those who are interested in Jesus, because those are the people I want to reach. Those are the people I want to introduce to God through Jesus so they can spend eternity in heaven too. I suggest you do the same. You don't need to take my word for it, because I'm just a guy who carries on conversations with his camcorder. I'll see you later.